Hey, happy Saturday. Good afternoon. How's everyone doing? How's it going? How's your weekend going? It's Saturday, I think, for most, if not all of us, that are on the stream. So thank you so much for joining. Really appreciate it. I start with weather. We'll start with weather. I think spring is coming. I don't want to say it too soon, but by the looks of it, next week, at least here in the Midwest, spring is definitely going to feel like it's here. It's going to be 50s next week, probably melt all the snow, and it's going to feel a lot like spring. So pretty awesome. I think there's some storms coming up south along the northeast too, and so I'm sorry for you guys, but we've had some cold weather. Today it was started out -4. It's going to get up to 30 here today. And then slowly warm up to 40 tomorrow, and then 50-ish almost Monday, and then 50s for the week, I think. So definitely looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to getting outside. At work, they ask, what would you do on your 50-degree day? And I told them the same thing I normally do every spring on a 50-degree day. I go out and shovel my lawn. No joke. It sounds weird, but I think around March or April, I usually get like cabin fever. And I'm like, I got to get outside. I got to do something. I want to do something physical. I want to feel like I'm actually doing something and making some progress. And I have dogs. So I just go out and I shovel all the snow off to the side and put it along the perimeter. It's so weird, but I usually do. Only so they have the place to go. I have a small yard. And it's kind of weird, but that's probably what I'm going to do. Tuesday or Wednesday, I'm just going to get bored for an hour and a half, and I'm going to do it. Hey, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Damn it, carrot. There's a lot of consonants in there. Hey, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. But that's probably what I'm going to do. Whoa, that's loud. Hey, Alpha Computer, hey, thank you so much for the 200 bits. Thank you so much. Finally got my Grafana dashboards set up for my server rack. Yeah, congratulations. That's awesome. It's awesome to start measuring and knowing that things are going on. And that's exactly what Grafana is meant to do. Visualize data, surface data, and help you visualize it. And then you can look at them and say, hey, what's going wrong? But anyways, yeah, probably going to shovel lawn and, but my dogs, I shovel a racetrack for them anyways through our whole entire backyard, like 2 figure eights and another figure eight. So they have somewhere to go all winter long. Gets kind of gross though around this time of year. So, but when it does snow, I shovel that track and toss it somewhere Anyways, how are you guys doing? What are you working on? What can I help with? If you're new to the stream, we usually keep it pretty relaxed, pretty open. Not a lot of rules here. I mean, there's obviously Twitch TOS rules and all that stuff, and keep it pretty PG maybe. But for the most part, it's kind of open to what you guys want to talk about, what you're working on, what you're interested in, maybe what you're having problems with. If I threw a wrench in some things you were thinking with some of my new stuff, hey, Zega Fur has subscribed, Prime sub. Thank you so much for spending a Prime sub on me. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Prime sub, thank you. I will definitely get into follows, and I'll get caught up here in a second. But yeah, if you're working on something, want to share something, go ahead, throw it in chat, and we'll bring it up. I'll bring it up on screen. I have a new system I'm using, so it's working out pretty okay so far. So I'll keep using it. But I'll start with what I've been working on so it just doesn't bleed into the whole entire stream. So the last couple of weeks, I've been testing out something called Harvester. You guys probably saw it this morning. Harvester, I'm going to throw a lot of buzzwords at you. So get your buzzword bingo cards out and let me know if you get a bingo. Harvester is an HCI. There's one. HCI, which is hyperconverged infrastructure, Kubernetes cluster that is actually designed to run virtual machines to then act as your hypervisor, which is super kind of crazy and interesting at the same time. Like I thought it was something else. I definitely thought it was something else going into it, but I was actually pleasantly surprised at what it is. The something else that I thought it was is something that I think they're going to do in the future. Who knows? Maybe I'm little scope creep on their features, but what I thought it was at first was a declarative way to deploy virtual machines using kube control. Maybe that's coming in the future. That sounds awesome to me. I would love to be able to target my Harvester cluster and say kube control deploy and define a manifest what all my virtual machines look like. I mean, this is sounding like Terraform now, but declaratively state what my virtual machine should be, and give it a desired state and say go and configure. So I don't know if that's there yet. To be honest, that's what I thought it was when I went into it, because that's what I thought in my head. I'm like, why else would you want Kubernetes running virtual machines? Kind of weird. But it's not that, and it's a lot more, and it's actually super interesting. Super interesting for sure. I was able to, I don't know if you saw it, but I was able to spin up a K3S cluster from nothing in 3.6 minutes, and it was awesome. And I'm not talking about I'm not talking about automating K3S. We can all do that. I haven't yet. I've done some. And don't get me wrong, that's a huge feat. Automating K3S, creating a cluster automatically, huge feat, huge accomplishment, feather in the cap for that. But what I did do was actually provision all of the virtual machines along with their hardware, their virtual hardware, their disk, their CPUs, their RAM, spin up those virtual machines, automatically provision those virtual machines, then provision K3S on top of that, create a cluster, and have them all join a cluster. And that happened in 3.5 minutes. I created that all, just a couple of clicks. Anyways, I hope the next iteration, and I hope where they're going with this, is then you can define those automatically through a manifest, because I don't want to click buttons. I'm done clicking buttons. I click enough buttons. Hey, HomeLab New, resub, tier 1, 20 months. Dude, 20 months. 16-month streak. Hey, thank you so much. 20 months. Yeah, crazy, man. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. How you doing, man? Good to see you. So anyways, a lot going on. I know a lot of people are going to ask, and feel free to ask. I'm not saying don't ask anything about Harvester. I'll throw some things out there. It's interesting to say the least. I know a lot of people are going to ask, hey, are you still using Proxmox? I'll answer that question now. Yes, I'm still using it. Am I going to continue to use it? Yeah, for the foreseeable future. Am I going to replace anything? Who knows? But I figured I'd answer those questions. They'll probably come up, and if not, then now you know. So anyways, let's get into what you guys are working on first. Let's get into the follows and activities, I guess, events in the activity feed before I started streaming, slightly before and during. So real quick, Buzzbald, Laxon Over, Arkbird, thank you guys for the follow. Thank you so much. Cyber Knight cheered 100 bits. Thank you. I think I called that one out. If not, I apologize. I might have been. Oh, that was when I started. I saw it on screen. And then I called out the rest. So thank you guys. Thank you. So what are you guys working on and what I can help with? Hype Train too. I just saw that. Nice. Hype Train. Let me know if there's something I can help you guys with. I would love to help you, or I'd love to talk or discuss or explore different things. But let's see who was here first. I know who was here first because I was testing some stuff. My lights aren't fully working yet. I do apologize. I'm trying to nail down where this bug is, and I don't think it's in code. It might be in code, but I honestly think it's a firewall rule because of where Kubernetes runs and what it has to get to. Anyways, most lights work, so I apologize. The bottom lights aren't working right now. I tested them 3 times before I started. So anyway, Salvarius was here first. How's it going, Salvarius? Good to see you. I think it was Salvarius. Yeah, it was Salvarius. Yeah. And then he sees me testing and he says, "Hey, I didn't see the lights change." LOL. Yeah, because I was doing a bit of testing. Bottom lights aren't working. I'll fix it. It's on my short list. They were working 2 streams ago. They partially worked last stream. Anyways, I'll fix the bottom lights. Flowdash, woo, yeah. Geeky Rand, how's it going? Holy crap, 3 weeks in a row. Yeah, man, this is like a new streak for you. You are a busy man. That looks like Mr. Obi, where the peeps at? I think people started rolling in. I think when you got here as part of the Discord notification crew. There, like I always mention, there's 3 crews. There's the crew that's here that knows I started 3. There's the crew that's here that gets the Twitch notification, and then there's crew that shows up when Discord notifications goes out. So I appreciate it. Thank you. Let's see. Geeky Rand, candy aisle at the grocery store. Is there any other aisle at the grocery store? Is it even a grocery store? No, I know. Yeah. I get stuck in there for a while. Sometimes I'm frozen with decisions on what should I get. My go-to candy, I'll throw it out there, is always Poland peels. I cannot go wrong with Poland peels. I love licorice in general. I especially love the Australian licorice, those big nubs. Kind of weird, but they're nubs and they're a little slimy for whatever reason. Who knows why? Oh, but they're so good. Anyways, I'm a huge fan of licorice, Skittles, anything chewy fruity. Chewy foodie for me wins over chocolate anytime. Anytime. Let's see. Geek around. Go shovel snow or something. Exactly. Yeah, I was just talking about that. That I like to shovel snow for some reason. And some people razz me in Discord because I don't own a snowblower. It's kind of weird that I'm in Minnesota and I don't. I think I'm gonna shovel. Let me clear the air. I have a small house, small property, a city lot in Minnesota. So I don't have a huge, I live in the city. I live in Minneapolis. I might as well just say that. So I don't have like a huge, house like you do when you get outside the city. So I have a pretty small yard, pretty small sidewalk. And so I shovel most of it. But there is a guy who goes up and down the street with his four-wheeler with a plow attached to the front. So I don't even need to do the sidewalk out there. So till then, I'm just going to use some elbow grease. Let's see. Manny, hey, how's it going? Brocade woes. Geeky ran Brocade woes. Yeah, man. Yeah, so you got a new Switch, Brocade. I've been trying to follow what you're doing. I know you're setting up a new Switch and you're switching over. I think we're using Unify. You're not going to use Unify anymore. You're going to use Brocade. Then you're trying to automate it with Ansible, and I think you got that working. I'm following the story. And you want it for layer 3. But now you have woes. This morning you were pretty excited because I think you had it going. I think you had it going with Ansible. Mafney, boo. Mr. Obi should be working on my Unify. Yeah. What should you be working on? Mine's been pretty solid. I've only had one major incident. I think in about a year and a half. One major incident, and kind of my own fault, but not really my own fault. It's a bug in their software, and I turned it on, but didn't realize that was the bug, and I actually had to miss part of a stream one day, or all of it, and I pushed it back to a Sunday because I couldn't even connect to the internet. Big troubles in my household. ISO, how's it going? Hey, how's it going? JCX, how's it going? Good to see you. Stream Hype, good to see you. Geeky Ran, figuring out the differences between Cisco trunking and Brocade tag untag is fun. Not. It doesn't sound fun in general. I mean, don't get me wrong, like networking is really awesome, and I only scratch the surface on networking. I play a network administrator at home, but like I would not be able to do it professionally, not because it wouldn't be fun, but it's just a whole bunch of knowledge I just don't have. So I can imagine, like networking in general. I don't want to say it's a black box, but just being in a terminal all the time and just trying to debug through a terminal is, wait a minute, that's what I do all day, software. So I mean, kind of sounds familiar. I have an IDE though, so I get lots of help. I just feel like debugging stuff from a CLI all day long would just be that's tough work. It's tough work. Cyber Knight, just finished watching your Harvester video. I need a new server. Yeah, I knew this was going to come up. Anytime I introduce something new, people are like, oh my gosh, are you ditching out on what you used to use? Should I use this instead? And what's going on? And I need to build this. And it's super fun. And it's definitely fun to explore. Do you need to do it? Nah. Is it fun? Yeah, it is. It's definitely fun. They've combined a lot of technologies into one, a lot of things that they've been working on. Now it's kind of like, oh, okay, now I see why you were working on Longhorn. Now I see why you were working, K3S, not necessarily K3S, because that solves a larger need. So does Longhorn, but I kind of see how they were like focusing on these different products and then putting them together now, and it's kind of like, okay, this is why. This is not end game. This is the start of the end game for them. So pretty cool. I think they're trying to do some Red Hat stuff for sure. Salvarius, Frankenstein T730 setup trying to tinker with Harvester. Yeah, so I'm not familiar with the T30. I think that's a Dell tower, possibly. But yeah, I hear you on Frankenstein builds. That one I had back there was kind of Frankenstein too. It's back in my rack. That server is technically is one of my backup servers, but I put in new drives and I just didn't dual boot. I actually just unplugged the old drives, plugged in these new ones. Because I have a stack of older drives, they're still SSDs, and got to test it out a little bit, and it's pretty fun. Mine was a Frankenstein build too. Don't worry, Frankenstein's totally fun, totally fine to do some exploration with, for sure. Man of Skills, good day, ladies and gents. How's it going? Geeky Ren, let it grow, Tim. Yeah, you were razzing me earlier, so I did shave. I don't normally, but my wife was cutting my hair. And I was like, well, while the clippers are out, I'll just shave off my face. So I'm trying to keep it somewhere in between. I won't go all the way down, bare razor, down to the skin. That I just kind of feel weird if I do that. Nothing wrong with that. Like, it looks great on some people, but I just feel weird. Like, I've always had just some kind of stubble somewhere. So I kind of need to stay in between, like Scraggly and Johnny Depp is what I was saying earlier. Somewhere in between there. Somewhere in between there. This is a little bit shorter. I usually do it, you know, with a higher level clip. This time I was like, what the heck? Let's go all out. So it'll come back. It'll come back. It was definitely weird seeing my outro clip on the last video where I'm like, whoa, my stash was pretty long, and now it's back to the beginning. Phantom Way, hello all. How's it going? Good to see you, Phantom Way. Good to see you. GCX Life, I had a significant achievement today. I found out a realistic nuclear reactor simulator, and I caused a meltdown. Interesting. What made me laugh was the message, you have caused a meltdown, try again. Like there's any try again. Couldn't help but remember Homer Simpson when he said, it's my first day. Yeah, I need a hearty laugh, giggles. Yeah, totally. And nuclear meltdown, try again. Those two words have probably never been said in a sentence ever until now. Flowdash, just finished up redoing my entire 42U rack, 2 servers, 2 servers, 3 UPS, a Pi, Hue, 2 switches, full 48 port punch down, and AV gear. Nice. Now I can get back into software setup that now that the physical side is done. Super fun. Yeah, I bounce back and forth between hardware and software all the time. I've been on this software kick for a while. It's kind of nice to like pull my server out of the rack, you know, undo some cables, bring a server up here, like plug in a hard drive. I feel like I've been doing software for too long. I need to get back into doing some hardware stuff. But awesome. You also have your AV centralized too. That's something I would love to do at some point. I would love to centralize all of my AV stuff. I mean, I'm talking like every Apple TV, every Xbox, and not that I have more than one Xbox, but all those devices, it would be so great if I could just centralize them somewhere, use Bluetooth that it's able to connect, have super long HDMI cables, whatever. Don't know if that would work, but I would love to keep those all like in my rack or in my little server room and not keep any of it anywhere else and just have everything clean, like everything clean. My desk especially, that'll probably never happen. But devices that connect to TVs, I feel like we should be there already. Let's see. Big Blagger Clerk. Oh, hey, how's it going? Piece of Geek. Trying to figure out why my Lenovo K3S nodes randomly go down where they full freeze one at a time. Could be the pre-owned Intel SSDs. Yeah, that one's tough. I have random K3S issues all the time. Had one this morning. I thought I was getting DDoS, and I'm like, what is going on? And just one of my nodes just decided it was kind of going to lock up, but not fully lock up to where etcd wouldn't respond. And then it finally responded again, but it elected a new leader in that time. So it caused kind of a shuffle in my Kubernetes cluster, but hope you figure it out. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure you'll figure it out. You got this, man. Run the normal tests you do on there, trim it up, run diagnostics, but hopefully your SSD's okay. Man of skill. Going to be 70s for me next week. Really looking forward to it. Yeah, it's warming up. Next week's the warm up for most of the country. It is for sure. At least from the Midwest over. But I think Northeast is going to get some snow, so I apologize. Lawrence Forces. Thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Abduram. Hey, I'm early today. How y'all doing? Good to see you. Yeah, that is a great little emoji right there. Ask emote. Yeah, he's like stretching out and yawning. I've never seen that one before. Or flexing. I got to use that one. That one's pretty good. Drawing is good. Hey, first time here. Hey, welcome to the stream. Let me know if I can help with something for sure. J6 Life cabin fever. I know the feeling when it's ages before you can go out. Yeah. I think that's what I have, and that's why I end up doing it. Because around March, I'm like, need some fresh air, need some activity. Dogs need to do their business somewhere else in a different track. So I shovel all the snow, and it helps like the ground thaw a little bit quicker. Not that that even matters, and it's probably worse for the weeds that will end up replacing what's there now. But it's still fun. Dog and tell Pelly. I got to get that one right. I'll just go dog and tell Pelly. Hey, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Welcome. GCX, have you ever shared pics of your dogs? A few times. They've actually made it on stream. There's one behind me. No. They've made it on stream. They've made it in clips of videos really quick. But maybe I'll post it in Discord. I think I have once or twice. Drawing is good. It's not. It is not. It's all this microphone. It's kind of nasally. I was not expecting that. Cyborgium. Hi, Tim. Kubernetes storage question. How do you manage backups of persistent volumes, particularly because Longhorn only supports a single backup location? I'd like to split important backups from unimportant backups, but that seems impossible now. Yeah, so Cyborgium. No, I think exactly, you kind of hit the nail on the head. I do it in a couple of ways, but one, for Longhorn, when I use Longhorn storage, so Longhorn is cloud native, storage for Kubernetes, and it's block storage. I end up backing that up to S3, not technically S3, but MinIO. And then from there, I can back that up. I've also done it to NFS as well. But I'll talk about these individually because I use them both. Don't ask me why I have two. I kind of understand why I have two, but you wouldn't understand possibly because it doesn't always make sense to me. But anyways, I back up MinIO. I back up Longhorn to MinIO, and then from there you can see your persistent volume claims. They're written on disk, and from there you could choose individual ones to keep longer. Or set your retention period longer on, I think, MinIO or wherever you keep them, or even in Longhorn, you could set them longer. And for the NFS client provisioner, I kind of do the same thing. I send those to an NFS endpoint, and from there, you can see your persistent volume claim. It's just a GUID on disk. It doesn't make a ton of sense. But if you peek inside, you can see what those files are and kind of put two and two together. Or you can see where they're bound to in Kubernetes too. So anyways, how do I decide which ones are important? How do I split them up? I don't do that. Well, first of all, I have the same retention policy for all of them. As long as I have one of something from the last time it backed up, I feel like that's kind of okay. And then I take a tiered approach. I do the one backup every 5 days, and then I keep one backup for 2 weeks. That's weekly, up to 2 weeks. And I feel like that's kind of good enough for me. Maybe it's not, probably bite me someday. But if I wanted to move those to more long, hey, Ilude, dude, thank you so much. Ilude has resubbed, tier 1, 18 months. How's it going, Ilude? How you doing, man? 18 months. Thank you so much, man. How's it going? Good to see you. But I don't think I would put the onus on the backup system itself. And what I mean by that is, I don't think I would look for a way to tweak and kind of make, either the backup in Longhorns work the way you want them to, if they're not going to. And the same with the NFS client provisioner. I would then run another job somewhere else that has your known PVCs. Those GUIDs aren't going to change. They shouldn't change. If they ever change, then you're not even bound to the same data anymore. So they're known once they're created. And I would just, if it's on TrueNAS or wherever that data lives, take another snapshot of that and move that somewhere else. If you ever change the PVC, you ever tear down your Kubernetes, the name's obviously going to be different, but that's probably what I would do. But again, I back up all my PVCs the same way for all of them. I don't have anything different because at the end of the day, I mean, all my PVCs are pretty important, right? So persistent volume claims in Kubernetes is just a way to write to disk and keep that disk persistent. So while you tear down your pods, you tear down your containers, you build new ones up, they mount to the same disk, they get the same claim, they have the same persistent storage. So all of mine are pretty important because if I ever took that PVC away and spun one up, well, if it's expecting a config or a certificate or whatever, a file to be there and it's not there, then they're gone. So I just treat them all the same. I treat, even a PVC that's one file that has a config, the same as another PVC that might have my certs or something else in it, and I treat them just the same. So it's a lot about that, but it's tough to kind of figure out. Mr. Harnstopper, I blame you, Tim. Deploying Harvester, cool. Yeah, let me know how it goes. Do the crazy thing that I didn't, I guess, totally elaborate on, which is what I think is cool. Is if you have an existing cluster, so let's say in Harvester, you build up this Kubernetes cluster that's running on top of Ubuntu, the cloud image, and you have that orchestrate all of it for you. Go and change all of your nodes and say now they have, just change some config on your nodes and watch it tear down your whole entire cluster and build it back up. And I'm talking from the ground up. I'm not talking about just taking away Kubernetes. I'm talking about it will tear down Kubernetes, tear down that virtual machine. Technically, it tears them down at the same time, brings another one up, images that virtual machine, gets K3S on it, and then joins that K3S node to the cluster, and then it'll do that over and over and over again. It's so cool to watch. It's so cool to watch. And I know cloud engineers and everyone that does a lot of automations like, I do this all day. This is my day job, But for me, I don't get to automate infrastructure all that much. So I thought it was cool. And I know it's not 100% automation, like as we would normally think, like where your infrastructures go. It's coming soon, but still cool nonetheless. Steven, our savior, resub, Prime, 3 months, 1 month streak. Thank you so much. Installing Harvester now. The video made it look fun. Thank you. I'm glad. I think you hit the nail on the head. I need to try to remember to take things a little bit lighter and to remember that sometimes you just do things for fun, and it doesn't mean that I'm switching infrastructure or switching stuff out. I have to always remind myself to have fun. And I did have fun in that video too. Something lit inside of me halfway through. I'm like, why aren't I always like this in this video? And that's kind of when I was like, that's how I should be. Because this is how I am now. I mean, I feel like that's how I should be. I'm having this internal struggle with my personalities with how I am on Twitch versus how I am on YouTube. Way different to look in this camera, not have any kind of, content or people to talk to or icons to look at versus looking in a lens right here. So way different, but yeah. Thank you, or I'm sorry, one or the other. That's usually my response for most things. So yeah. JCX Live. Sign language at the end of the video, so thank you too. Yeah. Let's see. I do. So a little bit on that. I won't go too far into it, but I used to work for a company that really valued accessibility on the web, accessibility through all things. It was a large retailer. They care about it a lot, and so I had team members that I worked with at some point in time that either were deaf or blind or had and so I really had an empathy for anyone who needs some kind of need because things aren't accessible to them. So anyways, I learned, I picked up a few things, so I figured I'd use it. So anyways, he looks like Captain Sparrow. I get that all the time. That's why I need to grow this out a little bit more. If I have it like this, people aren't like, hey, Johnny Depp. It's like, hey, that's Tim. But then if I grow it out, that's when the comments come. Let's see, Verwin, I really liked your Harvester video. Had no clue it existed. Yeah, I've had it in the backlog for a long time because it just reached GA, general availability, I think a couple weeks ago. I'm like, okay, now it's time. Sometimes I like to beat things there, but at the same time, I was like, this is really cutting bleeding edge. I don't want to be on the alpha of a bleeding edge thing. Most of the time I do. But when it comes to things like that are a brand new architecture, I didn't. Or when it comes to Windows Insider Preview Ring, not doing it anymore. I used to be that guy that was like, I'm on the fast, ultra, super fast Windows 10 Insider Ring. And then nothing works or things break. But not normally. But when you have tons of dev tools installed, things break. But anyways, yeah, it's super fun. I think it's fun. It's gonna stay in my infrastructure somewhere. I even did nested virtualization at first, and it was working. And I was like, I'm gonna use a bare metal machine for this. But I actually nested Harvester inside of Proxmox and used nested virtualization, and it worked. I mean, that's the promise of nested virtualization, is that you can pass that instruction set down to the guest, and then the guest can virtualize. And then I started going down this path I wonder how many times I could go down and install Proxmox and virtualize. Probably about 2 or 3 before disks and things were like, whoa, I can't handle all this chattiness going up the stream. But anyways, I had it nested, and then I was like, no, I got to do bare metal. I can't do nested. It's way too slow. I can't spin up a Kubernetes cluster and like wait 10 minutes for it to work. Will it work? Sure, but you know, it's can you versus should you. For experimentation, you absolutely can. If you don't have a bare metal machine and you're just interested in it, yeah, and you want to test it out, sure. Throw it in, create a virtual machine of Harvester and use pass-through, virtualization, nested virtualization, and give it a shot. It's not going to win any performance awards, but at least you'll know kind of how it works. Flowdash, I bought some individual addressable LEDs, and I wanted to set up an Arduino to pull from Grafana to display the temperature of each server via color-coded LEDs ran on the side of the rack rails. Nice. Might be fun to learn some APIs and coding again. Yeah, that sounds super fun. Right up my alley. Right up my alley. I've been deep in the sensor / write your own code / LEDs, obviously, for a while. Super fun. Like you'll see every now and then a little Pac-Man ghost will spin up and he'll tell me the temperature of my server room. If you see a green ghost back there, that's pretty good. See a yellow ghost, that means my server room's getting kind of warm. You see a red ghost, like I should probably stop the stream and go figure out what's going on in my server room. But yeah, it's super fun. I love connecting like the physical world to the virtual world, and and having sensors that connect to something physically, or having lights that light up. Obviously that's physical, but then writing the code to automate that, it's super duper fun. I really love it. I really love it. Yeah, I'm trolling now. I know it. You won't know it. Mannybot knows it. Yeah, for sure. Oh yeah, Johnny Depp in those Pirate films. Chef's kiss. Yeah, you guys are totally trolling me. Drawing is good. What do you think about Podman? It's there, and that doesn't mean anything other than like, hey, I know it exists. I have seen people use it. Unify actually uses it. If you didn't know this, Unify runs Podman on your UDM Pro. They spin up containers to do their workloads, and it runs Podman. Never do that. So I know it's there. I know it exists. But my container runtime engines that I'm experienced with is either going to be Containerd or Docker. And Docker's built on Containerd, so obviously, I mean, you could really just say it's Containerd. It's the only one I'm familiar with. But Podman, it's trying to do a lot of the same things that Docker's doing, but a lot lighter. Sounds cool. I just don't know enough about it. I did spin up a pod on the only pod I ever spun up was one that was on my UDM Pro. And that's when I realized that my UDM Pro is actually running Podman. And I was like, this is kind of blowing my mind right now. And so I ran one there, I think for MDNS. Someone had an MDNS container, and they're like, this will fix all your MDNS woes. And I used that for a while until I was like, okay, this is freaking me out. I'm just going to treat this thing like appliance. I'm not going to hack at it, So yeah, don't know enough about it, but if it works for you and it gets you containers and you like its API for spinning them up and tearing them down and managing images, go for it. Go for it for sure. You guys. Oh, let's see. 3.6 minutes. He's bragging, Geeky Rand. Not bragging, a little bit. It's a humble brag. No, it's not. I'm amazed. I don't want to say like, yeah, I spun up a whole entire, bare metal, Kubernetes cluster in 3.6 minutes, but I kind of did. But no, it's cool. Like I was definitely impressed. I thought if I could get Kubernetes alone running in 3.6 minutes, that was a good feat. But no, not only that, it was imaging virtual machines and getting Ubuntu now too. So yeah, pretty awesome. Zoid, hey Tim, fantastic job on Harvester video. Thank you. It's everything I expected. One question I have is how would storage for Harvester owned cluster work? Would you do something like a Longhorn on top of the VMs? So Longhorn is powered by Longhorn. I'm thinking of what's best to do for storage. That's something I didn't dig into, and I kind of think that maybe at some point I might dig into a little bit more. Let me grab a drink. So a couple things, like that video got really long for a couple of reasons, and then I was like, should I just do halves of this? Should I do virtual machines first and then do clustering next and then maybe focus on networking and storage? And I was like, no, I'm going to put it all in one. you know, if I had more foresight, I would have broke it up into two. But I'm like, yeah, if the first one flops, no one wants to see the second one and whatever. And that's not important for the most part. But I thought, well, why, you know, delay this content another week or 2 weeks just because I want to fit it into two? And I was like, I'll do one. KB Pitt, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Anyways, to address your question, the way that I understand that Longhorn currently works, at least for Harvester, like a pure Harvester solution, is that when you add drives, it actually adds them to Longhorn and starts to create its own internal like HA block storage, similar to how Longhorn works now. If you add another storage node or you install Longhorn on another machine, it's like, hey, great, I'm another target for replication. Am I replicated? Am I under-replicated? Is someone else under-replicated? And it will replicate that data, that data across all those nodes. And so when I added another disk to Harvester, it was like a non-event. Like all of a sudden I had twice the storage, and I'm like, okay, should I do anything else? And I didn't have to do anything else. All of a sudden, Longhorn was like, you now have, you know, whatever, 900 gigs of SSD. And I was like, that's pretty cool. So anyways, because it uses Longhorn under the covers, I don't know if there's an easy way to just access that Longhorn for other needs. So you're asking like, hey, Techno, what's up, man? Good to see you. Techno, the Goodwill King. I won't call you that, but this guy, Techno finds the best stuff at Goodwill. Anyways, 19 months, Kappa just managed to score 2 arcade signs from the 1990s for $5. Speaking of Goodwill finds, in his message, it's probably another Goodwill finds. Awesome, man. Good to see you. Thanks for the continued support. 19 months. Thank you so much. But going back to storage, I don't know if there's an easy way to like access that storage to say like, hey, Kubernetes cluster over here that doesn't know anything about Harvester, use Harvester's Longhorn for your storage. I think it's an internal mechanism. I could be wrong, and this could be coming in the future, but that's the way I understand it now, is that I didn't see like an external like interface to actually say, yes, my persistent volume claims belong on Harvester. It was more they're kind of using it under the covers for their replicated block storage. And if that's wrong, let me know, because again, like I spent about a week and a half with it, and I didn't go as deep as I wanted to yet. But I have a feeling that they're going to continue to go down this path, because this is their way to get into data centers, to get into people's clouds, and so they're going to continue to develop this. I mean, they're going up against people like Red Hat and stuff like that. SUSE is. So I feel like they're going to continue to develop this, and it's interesting to watch for sure. G6, like I think I angered someone in Discord saying I use Proxmox in production. Yeah, it's I could count on one hand who that would be. Probably count on one finger. No, I'm teasing. People are very particular about their technology choices, especially when it comes to their hypervisor. I've learned that. I've learned that about networking equipment. I've learned that about servers that they use. I've learned that about their hypervisors. I've learned that about drives. I've learned so much about what people hold dear to them, especially their technology choices. And I get it. If someone was like, hey, I use I don't want to name one, because then I'll look like that person. But if someone was like, yeah, I use this hypervisor, I'd be like, yeah, I tried that. That stinks. I'm not doing that anymore. You know what I mean? So I totally get it. And I love it that people are passionate about their technology choices. Don't ever treat that like I think like, oh, you shouldn't hold those things dear, because you should. You have time, you have money, knowledge, thought invested in these things. So absolutely. But I love it. I love it so much. Anytime I mention technology choices, that people tell me their technology choices, I'm like, this is exactly the conversations I want to have. So I'm super hyped when people, even if they're defending something that I don't use anymore, I'm like, these are conversations that I want to have on a daily basis, because I don't get to have them normally. So. Naderoni, any thoughts on TrueNAS versus Unraid? I was just getting ready to install Unraid on Proxmox. Unraid under Proxmox. Interesting. I heard it's easier to deal with TrueNAS, but I found that there isn't a great way to virtualize the OS drive. Sounds like people are passing through the USB boot device, which is kind of annoying. Interesting. So I've never thought, well, I kind of have thought about it, but, virtualizing Unraid. When I was looking at Unraid originally, it was going to be on bare metal. Obviously, I'm virtualizing TrueNAS, so I don't know why I didn't that didn't cross my mind. I guess because I didn't get that far and making those decisions. This is a tough one. I don't have, a real world experience with Unraid. I know that people love it. I know that there's a good community around it. I know that it's a solid product. I know that you get better or BTRFS, which is huge, especially for consumers. And technology aside, the capability that better or BTRFS gives you is that you can hot add, maybe not so hot, but add drives and expand your storage super easy. Whereas on ZFS, and I won't even call out TrueNAS specifically because this is a ZFS challenge, is that, the only way to grow your whole entire pool is to basically create the new pool or, insert and resilver drives one by one until every drive has the bigger target, and then expand that volume from there. So a lot of challenges with ZFS. I think that's something they're addressing in the future. Anyways. So I don't have a great answer for that. I know I've had a great experience on TrueNAS. At the same time, hey, Sigor, resub. Dude, Sigor, thank you so much. Prime, 15 months. Thank you so much. And Tupta, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. So I don't have a ton of experience with Unraid. I will say that, I've had a wonderful experience on TrueNAS. And I don't, truth be told, I've said this many times. I don't use TrueNAS as a hypervisor, and I don't use TrueNAS for apps. I only use it for storage services. So NFS, MinIO, as I lump into there, Samba, and a couple of others, iSCSI. And so I only use it for storage. And so then you have to ask yourself, if I'm going to use it for apps and services, do I want to play in this world or in this playpen, with Unraid, or do I want to play in this world in this playpen with TrueNAS? If you look at their app catalogs and how they're doing things, and then again goes back to, do I want ZFS or do I want? A lot of people say Butter. I hear better too, but BTRFS. I think that's the storage system technology that comes on it. So. Tough. I would throw that into Discord because I know that there are a lot of people who use Unraid, and I have nothing against it. I think it's awesome. I think one of the best things about Unraid 2 is the community that they have. I think it's so fantastic. You have a lot of people who are creating containers specifically in config and video and content specifically for Unraid. Sounds pretty awesome. Drawing is good. Docker versus Podman. How to choose? I don't know the answer to that question. I talked about Podman a little bit earlier. I would say, I don't want to say go with what's popular, because that's not always right. It sounds like this sign I used to see on my bus when I was a kid. What's popular is not always right, and what's right is not always popular. I would see that every day going in and out of the bus. But anyways, you could apply that same thing here. But there is something to be said about popular technology, though, because usually popular technology has a bigger community around it, and so on and so forth. So I would say use what works for you. But again, the only time I've seen Podman real world is on Unify. They obviously have bought into it, and I'm sure other people have. I just haven't used it all that much. Sigor, hi all. Installing a ceiling fan light. Oh, not my... Ooh, I got to do that. My wife, she probably doesn't hear me because she's like, you are too loud when you're on a stream. I'm loud anyways, but she's probably got her headphones on. I need to do the same thing, and I'm probably committing to it. I have to install a light tomorrow. I'll just say I'm going to do it tomorrow. We have a new light that's sitting down there in a mirror. I got to get to it. So I don't envy you. I've installed 2 ceiling fans and 1 light 3 times, and it's not fun. It is not fun. It's weird. It's a weird angle. For the ceiling fans, I was standing on a bed, and yeah, it's so weird. But good luck. Turn off the power, and hope it goes well. JCX Life, y'all know where the term debugging came from? A machine wasn't working, and it was because there was a bug in the valve. They removed it and fixed it and called it debugging. I didn't know that. I always thought bugs in software and debugging in general was just kind of weird. I used to laugh when I heard it as a kid. When people would say there's bugs in this code, I'm like, what are you talking about? How are there bugs in there? But good tidbit right there. some good trivia. Troll reported for duty, Salvarius. All right. Let's see. Cyber Knight, do you run QVIP on your K3S cluster? Cyber Knight, good question. I don't. I want to. I haven't yet. It's been talked about and kicked around in Discord. I want to. Haven't yet. It sounds super interesting. So QVIP is this idea that you don't have an external load balancer outside of your cluster, things that people struggle with, or one more dependency you have to take on, one more single point of failure that you have to make HA. QVIP turns that inside out, like most of Kubernetes, and says, hey, you don't need your load balancer outside of Kubernetes. Put your load balancer inside of Kubernetes, which is kind of like, what? Now, like all of these things, like all of your nodes or whatever needs that load balancer internally, they're no longer going out to some external load balancer that you would have to have HA that needs to be managed and patched separately. They're now looking in at themselves and saying, hey, how do I communicate with this other node? Oh, it's through this load balancer. So, super awesome. I've seen Adrian Goins do some stuff on it, and he's talked about it, and I've watched, I think, 2 videos he had on it. I'm like, I would love to do that. My understanding or takeaway from that video was I thought that you had to do that when you bootstrapped your cluster, which for me is kind of too late because I bootstrapped my cluster about a year ago. But who knows? I could build a new one and migrate my stuff to there. That would probably take me, I'd say about half a day. It actually sounds pretty fun to start all over sometimes. So I haven't done it. I'm a huge fan of the idea because anytime you take an external dependency on something, for Kubernetes, you also need to make sure that that's HA too, which is kind of a pain in the butt. Right now I have, multiple servers, Ubuntu servers running Nginx with a load balancer externally. I've even done some crazier stuff. I've kind of done that, but not, it doesn't work out as great as I thought it would, but I've even put MetLB inside and exposed that IP so that everyone can use that as a load balancer. I thought that'd be a little more stable, and that obviously doesn't work out so well because that MetLB endpoint, when it hops around, it's not up, and so whatever. Anyways, I haven't done it. I think it's cool. If there's an easy way, not even easy, if there's a way to migrate it to, if there's a way to add QVIP to an existing K3S cluster, I'm definitely all ears. I'm still all ears too, even if it means creating a new cluster, because I don't want that external dependency on a load balancer anymore outside of my cluster. It's like, this is why I have HA to run things inside HA. And, taking that dependency on an external thing just means now I need to keep that thing running and that thing HA and that thing patched. And it's, at some point it's kind of, I want this whole entire cluster to be self-sufficient, maybe to my own detriment. When I first saw that, I was like, is this a can I versus should I? And now I'm like, no, I actually want to do that. So yeah, good point. Let's see, table flip. All right, light mode, table flip. All right, let's see, JCX. I knew you started streaming since I was in the hall, and I heard both my partner and I's Discord notes go off. Yeah, so I was like, that can only be Techno Tim because it's Saturday. Hey, good, and I haven't missed it. Again, woo, yeah. All right, I like it. Thank you. Well, welcome, JCX and your partner. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate it. Glad you signed up for those notifications of Discord because it really does help. Marofio, I'm going with that. How are you doing? I'm doing good. I tried to install traffic about 6 weeks ago, getting a 404 page not found. You responded with check the route. Please help me, sir. Yeah, it's funny because I remember the conversation and I actually ran into that today. And I was like, this is exactly what I was just talking about in Discord. It's happening to me now. So in general, with traffic, if you get a 404, that means that traffic, the route isn't configured properly in traffic. It means you need to check your route. You need to check to make sure it's pointing to a service in Kubernetes that exists. If you're using Kubernetes, or if you're using the Docker version, it's pointing to something that exists that it can resolve. Which is the opposite of what I was getting earlier today, which is service unavailable, which is a 503. If you get a 503, that means the thing behind the back end is down. So there's 2 states you can be in. If your back end is down, let's say you had it configured and it's working and you took down the website that CNAME was pointing to. That will give you a 503. That will say service unavailable. But if that thing's not configured properly or traffic can't resolve where it's going to send that traffic, that's when you'll get the 404. So I mean, I have lots of questions. If you could post your config in it again, I know a lot of people get stumbled up on the dashboard piece because that's like the ultimate one-off in traffic is getting this service that's already running in traffic to then be exposed through the reverse proxy. That one's tough, and that one's a special case. But if it's anything else, post your config in traffic in Discord, and let's figure it out. Let's figure it out. Because I feel bad now, because I think that was like on Thursday. That might have been Wednesday or Thursday, and you're still having that problem, so I feel bad. So let's post it in Discord. Let's figure it out. JCX Life, thanks for getting rid of white mode and making my eyes bleed. It's still there. It's still there. It's just not full white mode. It's not full white mode. Light mode is not full white mode because those blue lights at the bottom aren't changing, which I need to fix, and then it'll be back. Then I have white shirt on. It would just be, it'd be too white. I would like disappear. Yeah, like this. See, those should be white. I have the remote here somewhere. Actually, I have it here. I have buttons. Will it change now? Yeah, see, I have buttons I can hear just in case. So I kind of prepared. I'll have to watch out of the corner of my eye and see when people change, and then I'll just randomly change it to some color of, of those lower lights. So still here, JCX. I'm sorry. Let's see. Got to use those points. Yeah, Naderoni. LOL. Engage sunglasses. Yeah. I totally agree. This is like spaceship sci-fi white for sure. I can't win this war. Yeah, you guys were going like crazy for a while. Edster, resub, Prime, 3 months. Thank you so much. Thank you, Edster. How's it going? Good to see you. Prime, 3 months. Thank you so much for spending your Prime sub for 3 months. All right. All right. I don't know why I got the toad. Oh, and then Thunderbolty. Thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. Said those backwards, but appreciate the follow. And Edster, thanks for the Prime sub. 3 months. If I skip over messages, I'm sorry. It's never because I do it intentionally. It's either because I run out of time or the tool that I'm using is just kind of hard to look at sometimes. So I apologize. Drawing is good. What do you think about Podman and Docker? Yeah, I think I mentioned this a couple times. I'm a little bit behind. I'm getting caught up on messages. My reign of terror is over. Well, yeah, you guys were fighting over the lights. Let's see. PC Geek Brocade needs a port to be in dual mode configured to allow both untagged VLAN and tagged ones. Interesting. Man, you guys are going crazy on these Brocade switches. I feel like I need to look into them. I've Googled them a few times. Every time you guys see a model name in Discord, I'm like looking it up. I'm like, oh, that thing looks awesome. I know that the one that you posted a while back, Geeky Ran, was super interesting. It was definitely dense. It was like 48 port. There was like 4 SFP ports on it. I was just like, oh my gosh, this thing is awesome. It's 100% like enterprise type switch. So it looked really awesome. Looked really awesome for sure. Let's see. GCX Life, use whatever works for you. I totally agree. Even if people don't like it, sometimes, especially if others don't like it, you want to engage troll mode. Yeah, I hear you. Use what works best for you. That's always my answer. I mean, it's a safe answer, but it's also, I think, the right answer. It's use what works best for you. Like just because you made some kind of technology choice or some kind of choice with something, if it works for you and it does what you need it to do, that's great. That's great. Sometimes people aren't, like me. I'm not a network administrator. I would love to know more about networking in general, and go super deep on it. But sometimes I just need to get the thing done, and spend time on that later. For example, a lot of people question me about my unified choice, and I get it. I totally get it. But at the end of the day, I need something that works with little maintenance, because I just don't have the depth of knowledge that most of you have about networking. It's I'm not gonna lie, I've never been in a position where that was my job or had the time to fully investigate. So I totally agree. Use what works best for you, for sure. Geeky Ran, tenacity is my superpower. That is a great superpower for anyone to have. The tenacity to put your something to the grindstone and keep on and keep pressing. I think, I think that's a good quality to have, is just tenacity to not give up, for sure. Also printing out a new 1U Raspberry Pi 4 case, Geeky Ran. Nice, dude. Nice. I need to get back into my Pis. I took small hiatus from doing my K3S cluster because I'm waiting for something to hurry up and get done software-wise, and I just can't get back to it. But yeah, I still want to get my mini cluster going. I still have my Turing Pi 2 server. It's still working. I just need to, I'm waiting for some software to get there. But that's not there yet. Oh, that means I see that one. That means I think this is a purple. All right, I'm going to change to purple. We'll see. Here, yeah, there we go. I'm going purple. Most of my stuff is automated right now. The lights at the bottom are not automated. So as you guys change those, I'm just going to click random buttons out of the corner of my eye, and hopefully it matches up to the theme that I had set up. JCX, isn't that class is peacocking? Keep me a bit of stuff. I'm not an expert on this. Oh, this? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I can see it. I can see the term, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I always say scruff. Ubi say, hi Tim, first time on the stream. Thank you. Been following you on YouTube. Thanks for your great content. Thank you so much. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it. Thanks for the feedback. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching my videos and sharing with people. It really helps. Thank you so much. Thank you. Let's see. Flowdash. There is an IP TV decoders and decoders. I want to play with the Crestron devices to centralize everything right now. I just have my amp and some ceiling speakers set up. Awesome, Flowdash. That's kind of what I'm looking for. Crestron it makes super nice stuff, and you know they make all the basically enterprise gear for AV stuff, and it's awesome. I think it's awesome. I remember a couple companies I worked for had Crestron stuff. It was a pretty penny. It was like I couldn't afford this, but you know, big companies for conference rooms they were obviously affording it. But interesting, yeah. I would love to be. I figured by now we would have wireless HDMI. I'm just gonna put it out there with zero lag, if that's even possible. Papa Llama, hey, thanks for the follow, appreciate it. I figured by now we would have wireless HDMI and everything would be wireless and every TV would be a dumb terminal that maybe I plugged a dongle in. We're not there yet, but if you had asked me 10 years ago, I'd have been like, heck yeah, why wouldn't we? You know, in 2022. Nope, still don't have it. I'm sure you can do it, and I'm sure it's super expensive, but I wish it was more mainstream because I want all of my TVs to just be dumb terminals. And then and then I flick a source on my remote and it connects to a source. That source could be the Xbox, that could be Apple TV, that could be my computer, whatever, and just connect over the network. And I thought that's what a lot of things were going to give us, but they haven't panned out. But yeah, awesome. I need to look to see if Crestron stuff has come down in price because it's what I want to do. But again, it's super expensive. Let's see. Flowdash. But would love to put my Xbox and TVs and gaming PCs in one location for sure. Absolutely. Me too. I want all that stuff in a rack or on a wall somewhere else. And I want to just mount TVs to the wall, just clean, super clean. No wires, no nothing, and then just, either between Bluetooth and some other wireless or wireless network, just be able to use them as is. Let's see. Tracy Lynn with love. New viewer, hey, hello. Do you use dummy batteries for your stream cameras? My A6400 power bank, and I'm worried that the DB affected it. So Tracy Lynn, I do dummy batteries. So for this is an A6400 here. I do have one of those dummy batteries that supply power to it. Absolutely, I do all the time. It's always, I rarely ever run it on battery. The only time I ever do on a battery is if it's not plugged into here and I need to do something somewhere else. So yeah, absolutely, I do. And there's the Sony version of it, and then there's the cheap version of it. I went with the cheap version, and a lot of people were like, if you're going to spend that much on a camera, not like it's some super fancy camera, they were like, you should buy the Sony one. I bought the non-Sony one, and it's been fine, but don't treat that as a warranty. But yeah, I use dummy batteries, and I plug them into a power source, and they're powered, and it's awesome. I use this camera for everything. Yeah, I mean, you guys see it here, you see it YouTube, but then also for work, for Zoom cameras and everything, so for sure. Kiki Ran, Flowdash, I can if you want. Okay, from Thingiverse. Okay, so your prints, yeah, awesome, yeah. Share it in Discord too. I'd love to see it. I need more reasons to buy a 3D printer. I've been holding off for so long, and I've been holding on for a while, and then I started building up my collection of things I wanted printed. Hey, Tufty Bruno, thanks for the Prime sub. Thank you so much for spending your Prime sub on me. Thank you so much, Tufty. I had this short list of things I needed printed, and I was building up my case to buy a 3D printer, and then Manny printed it out for me and mailed them to me. So need to build up that list again. So Flowdash, please. Oh, you guys are talking about 3D printer. Hey, Papa Llama's Prime sub. Thank you so much. Thanks, Papa Llama, with the follow and the short Prime sub afterwards. Thank you so much. Thanks for spending your Prime sub on me. Dog Bantal, which branch of technology does you guys talk about? We talk about all. We talk about all. We talk about all kinds of technology. I mean, even just in the stream, we've been talking about hypervisors, Kubernetes, switches, Crestron, AV, gaming, you name it. Anything that comes up. 3D printers, for sure. Anything. JCX Lives, someone gave us a 3D printer ages ago, needs a bit of a fix, but I haven't had time or energy to get it out of the box, but I want to get it working because they're awesome. They are awesome. They are awesome. They're getting better, they're getting cheaper, they're getting more precise, and people are creating more schemes or models for them, and I'm loving it. Flowdash, usually self-hosting services. All right, networking, storage, hardware, and IT projects people are working on. You just summarized it perfectly. That should be the tagline for this channel. Thank you, Flowdash. That's exactly well stated. Exactly. I always forget to throw in the self-hosting piece, but yeah, for sure. Hey, dude, wow. Wow, thank you so much. Whoa, Tufty Bruno gifted 10 tier 1 subs. Dude, thank you. Dude, thank you. Wow. So let's see. Ravix. I'm going with Ravix. Brandon PD DC, Xavius, Mac Willis, Juan, Cointown, Abdurum, Pinot Noir Superstar, Germand and Manny01. Enjoy your gifted sub from Tufty Bruno. Tufty Bruno or Tufty Bruno? I'm going with Tufty Bruno. Thank you so much. 10 subs. Thank you so much. So generous. Thank you. Let's see. Mesmerath. I run NPM as my reverse proxy for a local use. Every time I see the acronym, I'm like, oh yeah, you mean proxy manager? Anyways, I see NPM all the time for Node package manager. So when I see it for Node Nginx proxy manager, it kind of like, I'm like, wait, NPM can do that? Anyways, long story short, NPM, you use NPM as your reverse proxy for local use. Is there a way to run multiple load balancers for fault tolerance? Currently, my whole setup goes down. The machine running NPM goes down. Let me think about this. You run it as your reverse proxy. Is there any way to run multiple with load balancers for fault tolerance? Currently, my whole setup goes down. Yeah. See, you can do this. It's similar to how I do it in traffic. I do the same thing with traffic. You'll want to use something like Keep Alive D. I have a video on how to configure Keep Alive D. I do talk about traffic. I do talk about Pi-hole in there, but it's exactly that. When you run Keep Alive D, it creates a VIP, so a virtual IP that is load balanced, or it gives you HA IP, I should say, because it can be configured in a load balancer mode, but that's a long story. Anyways, gives you a virtual IP that sits in front of those two IPs, and so it has a heartbeat. Those machines establish a heartbeat to each other. If one goes down, the VIP will then route to the other host. The downside is you got to create two of everything. So NPM proxy manager, now I'm like saying the acronym with a name. Nginx proxy manager, you're going to have to create two of them and stand those both up. They're both going to have to be getting certs for you. So which means you probably can't do, you could do the HTTP challenge, but you probably shouldn't. Probably should use DNS challenge if you're going to do that. If Nginx proxy manager supports that, I can't remember off the top of my head. You're going to have to create two of them. You're going to have to maintain two of them. They're going to have to each renew the certs individually, and then put depending on how you have it configured, put Keep Alive D on those machines if they are machines, and then the traffic will be routed accordingly. But then you're going to have to do a whole bunch of DNS magic too to say, hey, this service that used to live here, let's say it's, I don't know, Heimdall or something, heimdall.local.example.com. You used to have CNAMEs that was pointing to this one Nginx proxy manager. I don't know how to visualize this. It was pointing there, but once you stand up the VIP, now you're going to have to say, okay, my CNAME now goes to that VIP, and then the VIP will figure out where it goes. So you're going to have to do some DNS stuff. 100% possible. It's exactly how I do traffic here internally. I have two, for all intents and purposes for this conversation, I have two internal traffic instances that do exactly that. they're running on 2 different machines, and then I have a VIP with Keep Alive D, and that's how I can reboot my servers. And because before, when I reboot my traffic instance internally, you know, I proxy everything through that, everything I can, because I have TLS on everything. When that would go down, I couldn't get to Proxmox, couldn't get to TrueNAS. I mean, I could if I, you know, went through the port and stuff that it was hosted on and go through the IP. But I want to go through my reverse proxy. So it's exactly how I run mine at home. 100% possible, for sure. Let's see. JCX Life, do you have a way to make like one-off donation? I want to throw $1 to your way, but I don't want to do a subscription thing. You don't need to worry about it. It's totally fine. Sorry, and I would have messaged you offline. I'm just clicking on messages. You don't have to worry about it. Don't worry about it. I mean, truly the way to do it, the easiest way to do it, I don't even know the easiest way to do it, if not through a third-party system, because I don't like really accept money outside of other systems because it just makes auditing really easy. I mean, Twitch has bits here. There's Patreon. You could sub for 1 month and then unsubscribe. I don't know. I have a $1 subscription on Patreon too, but really you don't need to. You don't need to. It's a thought that counts. So, but I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Ilude, sorry, I'm late. BIOS updates and other system updates got in the way. Hey, I hear you. I actually, I like BIOS updates and weird about that. For some reason, like firmware updates, I get super excited about updating firmware. Something about updating something at a really low level like that. I'm like, yes, these people that developed this still care about this piece of hardware. I love it. But anyways, all good, man. Let's see. Dog and Tal Pelly. Hey, Tim. Hey, Mafney. Gifted tier 1 sub. Dude, thank you. There you go. Thank you, Mafney. Oh, that was so nice. GCX, enjoy your gifted sub from Mafney. How's it going, Mafney? Dude, thank you so much, Mafney. How's it going? How you been? Let's see. How does Tim select a question from Discord, Twitch, or chat? It's from here. I get behind and then I get caught up. That's just kind of how it goes. That's how I've always rolled it, is to try to go through every single one. Lately though, they've been really it's been a lot of messages, so I got to keep up. I got to remind myself not to spend too much time, just enough to answer questions. But yeah, it's all here. I'm probably about like 10 minutes behind, but I'm getting there. Narag has subscribed, Prime sub. Thank you so much. Thank you for spending your Prime sub with me. Really appreciate it. Let's see. Questions. Abdram, Techno Tim, funny thing is about I was typing a YouTube comment and wanted to say laugh, but I didn't have the emoji keyboard and didn't want to type haha, so I searched on Google how to do it in ASCII. I landed on that and found the ASCII stuff. I never thought it would search for something like that. I always have to do the emoji shrug, because I copy and paste it. So I'm like, emoji shrug, ASCII, and then I get it and I copy and paste it somewhere. But I really like this one. I'm a fan of that one. I might start using that one because it almost looks like a stretch, but you can tell by his mouth he's laughing. So I like it, or they are laughing. Impact. My company that I'm with is trying to make a big push towards DevOps method of operations and infrastructure. So your stuff is gold for me. Hey, thank you. I totally agree. I think it's a move in the right direction. Just in general, like shipping, I don't want to sound too corporate, but if your company's ships code, if they build code and ship code, obviously they think there's some value in there. So being able to deliver that value to the people who want it quicker is always a good thing, right? If you create value and people want that value and you can get that to them quicker, that is awesome. And that's what automating and doing a lot of DevOps stuff helps solve. Helps get your product, get your code, get your whatever to people a lot quicker. So that's awesome. I'm a huge fan. I've done a lot of stuff in my life. And when I did infrastructure, I got bit by the infrastructure bug. And then I did software development and app development. I get bit by the app and software development bug. I did some DevOps stuff just because I wanted to, and because I was on a team that was, even before DevOps was really kind of a thing, and I got bit by the DevOps bug back then. So I've always held automating operational types things like really dear and close to me because I really enjoyed it. For one team I worked on for a while, we basically rolled our own DevOps stuff with Microsoft.NET stuff, and it was so awesome at the time. Like it was kind of, you know, bleeding edge. It was kind of that along with Jenkins, but it was like more than I'd ever seen anyone automate before. And ever since then, I've just really enjoyed it. And so as I joined other teams and joined other companies, I brought that passion with me towards those things and helped those teams then automate or think about things that way too. So I think it's really important. I think in general, just to deliver code or changes or whatever you want to call it, deliver value faster to people. I don't mean to sound too corporate or enterprise, but at the end of the day, that's what DevOps engineers and the process itself is helping. It's helping people deliver stuff faster, and it's awesome. We love DevOps. DevOps, all the thing. I totally agree. Just developer operations in general is awesome. I totally agree. Let's see. Kubernetes Rancher seems kind of intimidating, but I think I've been slowly picking it up and trying things on your videos. So Impact, yeah, thanks. It is intimidating. I'm not going to lie. Kubernetes itself is very intimidating. It's still intimidating to me. Sometimes people think I have a lot of answers, and sometimes I'm not. I have to Google a lot of stuff, and I'm not going to try to act like I understand everything in Kubernetes because I definitely don't. And so even for me, it's still intimidating. That's one of the challenges with Kubernetes, I think, in the future. You know, will everyone continue to keep using Kubernetes? Who knows? It was basically a miracle that we got most of the world to agree that Kubernetes was a good choice for delivering software and for maintaining software and delivering some of the things we were talking about, just container orchestration in general, to get a large portion of the world to agree that that's kind of how things want to work. They should work in the future is pretty incredible. So it is intimidating. I know that Rancher makes it a little bit easier. It does obfuscate some stuff, but at the same time, it shouldn't be thought of, hey, this is just a UI over Kubernetes, because it's a little bit more than that. I won't go into detail. But Rancher can make it easier. And if you think about, if you use any cloud vendor, if you use Azure, Linode, if you use GKE, I should say it that way, that's their SaaS product of Kubernetes, they're going to give you something else too. They're going to give you a UI over Kubernetes. GKE does it, AKE does it, Azure does it, AWS does it, whatever, I forget what their Kubernetes SaaS product is called. But they're all giving you UIs over Kubernetes so that you can do stuff, you can click stuff, you can at a glance see how things are doing, see if things are in a crash loop or look at logs. And that's kind of what Rancher is doing too, except for self-hosted and multi-cloud and hybrid cloud if you want. So it's a really interesting space. And so just going way back, when I wanted to run Kubernetes at home, I thought there's no way I can do this. And I mean, we're talking like 5 or 6 years ago. You know, I was just getting into running Kubernetes at home, and I found that Rancher to be pretty easy to at least get into it and to start to realize that, hey, this might work. 6 years later, I'm still doing it. So, but it is intimidating. I'm not gonna lie, it's intimidating to me, and I've just take it one piece at a time. There's a lot of good content out there on just like kind of understanding Kubernetes, but it's a huge thing. It's a beast, and there are a lot of corners in there, and a lot of dark corners and scary corners in Kubernetes, and a lot of things still that some things happen in some of my systems. I'm like, why did that just happen? And some of that is just because Kubernetes is doing its thing, and sometimes it's hard to understand why. But anyways, just keep going at it. If it's something you want to do, just keep going at it. JCX, I'd like to get into streaming videos about things I like, but it's scary with all the copyright trolls and bad platforms and such. Any advice on how to push through that fear? These are like content questions. So I wouldn't. So copyright trolls. So the only thing I have to worry about in general when creating content is DMCA strikes, and those are strikes by the digital music, whatever, big music. I'll say that, big content, where they basically say that, hey, that content that you're streaming, you don't have a license to stream or use, and so we're actually going to then put a strike against you. It's usually not them. It's the platform you're on that's doing it for them, so that they don't get sued. It's big CYA policy. But in general, I mean, like the music you're hearing now. So for me, I create most of my content. There are some times when I put clips of movies real quick or a GIF in there. I'm like, is this going to get me in trouble? And I'm kind of like, I'm just going to kind of lean into fair use policy with that one. You know, music's a little bit different. For some reason, music doesn't fit into fair use policy, whatever. But for the most part, if I ever play music like I am now, I use Stream Beats by Harris Heller. It's pretty awesome. I've talked about it many, many times. All of my videos have the link to the song that I use and the license. He's created a huge playlist of stuff that's free. That's free for you to use. Obviously, he makes money off it, but it's free for you to use in your content on most any platform. I know that different platforms he's had challenges with, like Facebook streaming and stuff like that, them not honoring him saying they're fair to use, but whatever. But for the most part, I don't think about it anymore. I was real cautious at first. Like when I started streaming on Twitch, it was like there was no DMCA strikes. It was just the Wild West. Twitch has obviously tightened that up a lot over the past, especially the last 2 years. They've tightened that up, and it's mainly because Twitch, as it grew as a platform, people were like, hey, those people are playing music. We should be getting paid for that. I'm oversimplifying and probably making a lot of assumptions. But they had a target on their back that was growing and growing and growing. And it grew to a point to where then the industry was saying, okay, like you guys need to put systems in place so that you can put strikes on people's content if they play content they don't have licenses for. Anyways, long story short, I grab music from Harris Heller. Haven't had a problem with it ever on Twitch and YouTube and Instagram and any social platform that I've ever put it. When it comes to like any like video content, I've used small clips from stuff, GIFs or short blips from videos. I just kind of am thinking like that's part of the fair use policy. And I mean, worst case scenario, if something happened in one of my videos, they would basically say, sorry, this is in dispute. You can't monetize that video. Until then, the few pennies I got off ads would go to this other company that has billions of dollars. And until that's disputed, you won't make a few pennies. So anyways, long story short, it's a good question, but I don't worry about it that much. Like I said, if I ever play music, I make sure that it's DMCA free. And I try not to play video clips unless they're really short. I mean, really short. I mean, I'm talking like 3 or 4 seconds. But then when it comes to other content on YouTube too, I generally try to reach out to the person and say, or at least give them credit in that video too, and say, hey, I used a clip from this channel. And I try to include their YouTube, I try to make it look like it's from YouTube, and make sure I include the frame to say, hey, this is on YouTube when I got it. I didn't download your video and use it or whatever. Anyways, long story short, I was scared. I don't know. I came from a place when Twitch started where I wasn't scared about it because those rules weren't in place. But then when I got into YouTube, that's when I started to try to figure it out. So let's see. Lorenz Forces, been watching your YouTube channel. Love it. Thank you. Love what you do. And I'm trying to learn more about infrastructure and moving towards hosting some of my own stuff. Awesome. That's my wheelhouse. That's my wheelhouse. A lot of my infrastructure exists so I can host stuff or so I can write code and deploy my own code to stuff. And so I love it. I love it. GCX nested virtualization, aka VM inception. I did that about 3 VMs deep. Interesting. I've never gone more than 2, but it's definitely interesting for sure. For sure. All right, guys. I know that I'm a little bit over. This is the point in the stream where I'm going to look for direct mentions, and if I skip over them, I do apologize because it's very hard to see mentions on this tool that I'm using now so that I can display them on the screen, but that's a better experience than using the chat I used before. So I'm going to look for my name or @, but there's no highlights, so it's tough. Swiss Techno Tom. Hey, Tim, best way to backup restore Proxmox host. Yeah, this comes up a lot. There is no best way. No. There are ways. How about put it that way? There are ways. So you're probably talking about just the host itself, just the configuration itself, and not backing up any of the individual virtual machines, because you have ways to do that. Virtual machines very easily set a backup target, you back those up. With Proxmox, the host itself, I mean, basically, I think you want to grab anything from /etc/Proxmox, I forget what it is, PVE, and basically all the config files in there, and just cross your fingers and hope that you got it. No, but honestly, that's kind of what it boils down to. What I found and what I back up is I back up inside of that PVE folder. I forget the path. Inside of there, there's a folder for all your individual, there's files for each of your individual virtual machines. Now you might be saying, well, I have the backup virtual machine. Why do I need that? Because in those config files sometimes are GUIDs to things. And if you ever restore a virtual machine, it's kind of hard to look up in their backups to say, hey, VM 127 is really this virtual machine. It kind of sucks, actually. It does in Proxmox when you restore virtual machines. I have to sort by date. And I'm like, okay, I just backed up that one, so I know this is this one. VM ID 1117 is really this virtual machine. So you have to do that mental math. If you back up all those config files, you don't have to do that mental math because it'll say your VM ID in there. What that also gives you is your config. For all the settings you have in the GUI. Let's say you pass through some additional hardware you have attached to different hard drives. You'll actually see those IDs in that config file. The other thing I back up is there's a network folder in there too that has just general networking about that Proxmox host. I have multiple, so it's kind of nice to just have that just in case, especially if you have VLANs configured or you have anything specific configured. It's nice to see that too. If you really want to automate this, there's a great post on Proxmox forums. If you just Google, how do I back up, Proxmox host? I run into this every 4 months because I'm like, there's got to be a better way. And it's always a link back to the script that someone has on GitHub that's been there since, 2017, that has quite a few stars that people use to back it up. That should back up all of your important stuff. How you restore it is tough. I fortunately haven't had to do like a bare metal restore of Proxmox. I've done a build and migrate too, which is exactly kind of what it sounds. You build a new one, you get most things in place, like storage, VLANs and all that stuff. Use your old files as reference files. And then if you really want, you could put your virtual machine configs inside of the folder that where they belong on the new system. But I'm fortunate enough to not have to do that. It would be nice if there was an easy way to just, hey, give me an archive. Like, if Proxmox would have just like backup host, I don't even care about the restore right now. I mean, it would be nice to have that in the future. I don't even need that. Just give me the backup piece. I would love to be able to schedule the backup, like tar all that up, put it in an archive. Let me back it up to NFS or S3 or somewhere off the host, so that if this thing crashes, I at least have some clues on how to rebuild this thing. So I have no good answers. If someone else has good answers, let me know or toss it in Discord. Okay, gonna look for messages. This is tough because I see people mentioning Techno too, and I'm like, nope, no, not me, not this. That's the other tech. Boss Hogs. If you ever need some help running Mac OS as a VM or Proxmox Unraid, let me know. I got you. Thanks, Boss Hogs. I don't. I've seen that it can be done. I have a MacBook here that I use primarily for work. Hey, Swiss Techno Tom, thank you so much. 100 bits. Thank you so much, Swiss Techno Tom. Thank you. I've seen it. I've seen that it can be done. I don't have a need for it. I have a real Mac, and then like it gets weird. It gets weird with licensing because licensing. But I know it does work, and I've seen it. Just haven't had a need for it. But yeah, it sounds awesome. I've seen it all over the web too, and all over YouTube too. Even though it's like this is definitely not in Apple's terms of service, but sounds awesome. I feel like those days, along with Hackintosh days, are limited because pretty soon Apple is going to deprecate x86, and then at that point, every virtualized Mac and every Hackintosh will be stuck on that last version of Mac, and it'll be a sad day because then all Macs will be on Apple Silicon. So, yeah, interesting for sure. Let's see. Oh, here's one. Okay, thanks. That was just a thanks. Okay, that was a thanks. I'm looking for ones that mention me only because I do have to wrap this up because I went way over today. I went into this thinking like I'm going to end on time because I want to be mindful of people's time. Let's see. I think this is me. Is your subscription going to open up even better tutorials that are not public? Scott Nailion. I haven't decided on this yet. What it means. More to come. More to come. If I hit 100K, there's a lot of things that I keep saying, like, at 100K, I'm going to figure out. I think this is one of those things. At 100K, I'm going to figure out. I feel like I've been so close to 100K subs for so long. It's just like going on and on. But don't get me wrong. It's like blows my mind. But when I did the math 6 months ago, I was just like thinking like, yeah, it'll be February. And then I did the math like 3 months ago and I was like, yeah, it'll be March. And doing the math today, I'm like, it's March. No, because it ebbs and flows. But anyways, content strategy moving forward. Will I have like something that comes additional with like if you subscribe premium somewhere else? On each platform, I have something, even if it's tiny. I do have a differentiator there that gets you something, even if it's just emotes or emojis or stuff like that, just like on Twitch. But like additional content, that's TBD. At 100K, I think I'll have a better answer. So thank you. I don't get me wrong. I want to do that. I want to do that. But you know, it's tough because I want to reward those that are, you know, making investments. I think in me and my content for sure. Just gotta balance it all out for sure. And it might be micro content too. It could be for sure. But sky's the limit. The Pikey, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. All right. I'm going to look for my name or mentions. All right, here we go. Last one. Oh, there's a couple. There's a couple sneaking in now. Okay, real quick. Would it be good to migrate from Proxmox to Harvester? Scott and Alien. I don't know. It just depends. It depends on what you want. You know, Proxmox battle tested. It's a hypervisor first. Yes, they call it HCI because, you know, it gives you ZFS. It gives you LXC, so it gives you a lot of features. I mean, it's a hypervisor first, you know, that also pairs with those two other technologies I just mentioned. If you're deep in Proxmox and it's your jam for as your hypervisor, personally no. But if you're new to hypervisors, or maybe you only run a virtualization, like your hypervisor's only purpose is to run your Kubernetes cluster, maybe. I mean, that could be the case. I mean, it could be the case with a lot of things. People have pies, they build clusters, KTRS clusters out of pies, and their only mission for those pies are to run KTRS. So totally up to you. It just depends. You're not gonna have ZFS, but you'll get Longhorn. So there are some trade-offs. Like even simple things like scheduled backups just aren't there right now unless I'm not seeing them. You can manually back up. Maybe there's a scheduled job that you could run, but these are the things because it's so new, because you know these things are still being developed. Things aren't there yet, but it is interesting. It's an interesting take. If in the next release they start making infrastructure as code, if they give you declarative ways to deploy virtual machines through Kubernetes, then I might take another look at it for sure. Because right now the Kubernetes piece is a little bit obfuscated from you. I mean, they say it's there, and you're like, yeah, it's there. I trust you, but outside of running kube control and a few other things, like I haven't really seen that exposed to where I could use it. Obviously, I only used it for a week and did some stuff. It's actually still in my server rack, so I don't know. It's going to be up to you. It's going to be up to you for sure. Let's see. All right, all right. I'm gonna just wrap up these last two. Anyone in chat, any recommendations for a noob running their own Python code and Docker? I'm best to make my own Docker. It's a cool project. Can you use to run it even easier? So yeah, there are definitely Python Docker container images. I actually use one for one of my open source projects that I built. So they're definitely out there. So I would use an official one before rolling your own, unless you want to figure out how Docker containers are made. Use an official if you can. The Gemenal. That's what I'm going with. Hey, I was hooked on your Rancher Kubernetes videos, but how do you maintain your nodes when it comes to disk pressure? Eventually, disk pressure increases because of logs. Yeah, this is going to happen. So the answer is get bigger disks. No, the answer is this is going to happen if you're going to use smaller disks, and this is definitely going to happen if you're using a single node instance of Kubernetes. Because at the end of the day, like that single node is caching all of those Docker images, filling up persistent logs or persistent volume claims with logs or things that it's writing. writing to disk for all kinds of stuff. So the answer kind of is, hey, Dat Fusey, thanks for the 100 bits. Thank you. Thanks for quality content. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. I'm gonna make these flash until we're done, because they haven't flashed yet. So I'm gonna flash them now. I think that was on and flash is here. So I'm having a problem with my other lights, but I can trigger them manually. So I'm gonna keep this until we're done. Anyways, going back to that, if you're running a single node and you're basically running an all-in-one Rancher plus Kubernetes plus lots of pods, you're going to run into it. So the answer is get bigger disks. And I know that sounds super obvious, and it sounds like, hey, I don't want to get bigger disks. I just want to run a little bit leaner. Well, I mean, Kubernetes is just being Kubernetes and saying, like, hey, like, we need some reserved disk space for Kubernetes to run. You're exceeding that limit and you have disk pressure. The other answer is to, okay, well, scale out your nodes. Instead of scaling vertically, stacking up bigger hard drives, bigger CPU, bigger RAM, bigger everything, instead of scaling vertically, scale horizontally. So add another node to your cluster. And then some of those pods will go over there. And then some of that disk will get cleaned up. And then you're sharing the resources across multiple nodes. So you either got to scale vertically or horizontally. And if you're going to stick with single node, it's got to be scaled vertically. So you're going to have to beef that machine up. So, all right, guys, I got to wrap it up. Looking that thing, I kind of look like I'm caught up. Okay, guys, thank you so much. Thanks for tuning in. I know this went a little bit over, so I do apologize. Thank you for the mods and for sticking around. I apologize this went a little bit longer. I try to keep it to an hour just so you guys have a lot of time on Saturday to enjoy time to do whatever you want to do. Aloha Tux. Hey, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. If you guys want to chat some more, hop in the Discord. Discord's out there. It's been out there. We have 6,000 members, I think, that are in our Discord that talk about tech, talk about all kinds of stuff. Talk about fun stuff, razz each other, troll each other, lots of gifts and lots of fun stuff going on there. So definitely join if you can. If you have questions for me, feel free to ping me in there, ping me on Twitter, whatever. Enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy your Saturday. I'll be here next Saturday, 3:00 Central. I'll be here again, and I might have something out this week, so I appreciate it. If you guys have any other questions, yeah, like I said, ping me in Discord. We'll talk. Have a good. Also, thank you so much. There was follows, there was bits, there was subs, there was gifted subs. Thank you so much for all that. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Means a ton to me. And I can't say thank you enough, so I appreciate it. Have a good rest of the day. Have a good Saturday, and be good to each other. Take care, folks.